Hello, everyone, and welcome to this bonus session of our Beyond the Pew cohort, the Thursday night group. We're so glad that you're here, and we're grateful to welcome today Ken Cruz, who is our facilitator and our leader for this cohort. The Reverend Ken Cruz is a retired Episcopal priest with a heart for the local church. He brings a unique analytical perspective to ministry, drawing from his previous careers in civil engineering and city planning. He specializes in helping small churches find their unique voice and reach. Now living in High Point, North Carolina, Ken spends his retirement helping congregations thrive when he isn't busy spoiling his five grandchildren. Ken, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, as a matter of fact, the minute we're done here, I jump in the car and go start spoiling. So, well, let me go ahead and share.
And while Ken's sharing that, just a heads up, my name's Karen Jackson. I work with PRC as the webinar coordinator. I'm your webinar host. And PRC, we're a nonprofit ecumenical resource center, and we offer a lot of free resources. And our workshops, though, do tend to be paid resources. This is a bonus session, but starting in August, we'll be offering this cohort to PRC members, our judicatory partners, and those who have invested in joining us. So I'm going to turn it back over to Ken. You can skip past this slide and the next slide, and you can go ahead and just start rolling with your stuff.
I'm set. This is something, the reason I'm so excited about doing an animal festival and blessing of pets is because you are almost likely, almost assuredly, to see more non-members, new people come on your property for this than probably about anything else, certainly more than Christmas. So today what we're going to do is we're going to hurry through. As Karen said, we're kind of trying to do an overview. So what I will do is touch on a lot of things. You will get the replay so you can watch again, take notes. I will give you a lot of links for information. That's my website that I will refer to from time to time. This is very much under development. You are free to look it over. You are free to play around in it. And if you know of something, if there's something you wish was there, let me know so that I can move that up to the top of the list. Most importantly, I want to let you know you're never alone. I know when I get some training on new software or whatever, a lot of times I get frustrated because I have questions, I don't know where to go, and that kind of thing. I'm always there for you. My passion, my joy is helping you meet new people, and I'm particularly excited. There are so many people who are interested in reaching out and telling people that churches are good places to be. Not everybody believes that. And I'm going to talk more about that in just a moment, some of the challenges we face. So, our goal, though, is we want more people knowing about God's love through our community. Our central goal is not church growth or budget growth or anything like that. That's very selfish. Our central goal is to help people know God's love. And to accomplish that, we do need more people serving and worshiping with us. Well, a surprise to many people is lots of people want to have a relationship with us if they knew more about us. I know a lot of people feel like they've been told nobody's interested in church anymore. That's not really true. They're very interested in spirituality. They're not necessarily interested in the institution, and we need to explain to them why being involved with us will help their spirituality. We acknowledge, therefore, that church is not a high priority for many people. They're interested in spirituality. They may even pray and even occasionally read the Bible and that kind of thing. But to get involved in a community is really not a high priority. So our first step is intriguing them. And you're going to hear me use that word a lot. I think it may be the most important word in what we do.
Ken's a little frozen. We have been having some issues with his internet connectivity. We had a couple little bumps in the road at our Tuesday cohort. Um, he changed locations, and we were hopeful that that would work a little
To
better. But
intrigue them.
Ken, are you there? You were frozen for a long time. Oh, there we went. His spouse Shirley's here, so she can probably let him know what's going on. It looks like her um what am I calling it? Her connectivity is still fine. So I am hoping that he'll be able to hop back in a minute.
Dominant. You don't want to have people leave there and say, "Oh, we had a great time at Memorial Park." You want them to leave there thinking St. John's put on a nice event. So when to do it? Do it earlier than other churches. The traditional time to do a blessing of the animals is the first weekend in October. That is likely to have more than your church. There's likely to be several churches doing it all the same time. So do it earlier. Ours is the 26th of September. That gives you an advantage when you're seeking vendors, and we'll talk about that a lot, and traditional media. I do not recommend it doing it in conjunction with a Sunday service. I've had a couple churches try that, and it's been a total bomb. It worked for their own members. I should clarify that. Their own members enjoyed it. It worked well, but it didn't bring a single new person in. I've never tried a weekday evening like Thursday night from 6 to 7:30 or something like that with some food trucks. I'm I suspect that's what we're going to try next year because it just sounds like it could be really worthwhile. You're competing with so much on Saturday or Sunday. I know in our case, we're always competing with a Pride weekend. We're competing with two or three community events. Thursday night might be a better time. You have three goals, and this doesn't apply. This applies to anything you do. You want to have people come. You want people to be glad they came. And then the last one we don't pay enough attention to, and that's encouraging people to consider coming back Sunday. I'm going to start with have people glad they came because that explains that. That's what when we determine what it is we want to announce, we want to promote. But as I'm saying that, I want you to think about the fact that every person coming on your property is a guest. They're not just a person attending. And that includes vendors. The vendors will send usually two, sometimes three people with their display. Those are people who may be seeking a church. In fact, 20% of your non-member attendance is likely to be by vendors. So I want you to think deeply about how you treat a guest at home and then translate that to any event you do, including and especially Sunday. If you want to know how to treat new people well on Sunday, simply think of them as guests. That'll get your thinking in the right place. So my thinking is the blessing is important, no question about it, but lots of things should be going on. I would say target 45 to 60 minutes of activities plus the blessing. So you're looking at, for the ballpark, 90 minutes total. I recommend scheduling the blessing for about 15 minutes. Let me get that out of the way. About 15 minutes after the event starts. One of the mistakes I made was one time I scheduled it for about 30 minutes after the event starts, and people who were coming only for the blessing were upset they had to wait around that long. But 15 minutes allows the latecomers time and avoids upsetting those people. I recommend having a short service followed by individual pet blessings. If possible, include some music. Again, one of the things I have seen, I didn't think worked well, but at one churches, what they did is the priest walked around just casually reaching any pet they found and doing a quick prayer with them. That was fine, but it didn't give the feel of a church service. And I think we want to very gently give that feeling. I put several sample liturgies on the website. You're welcome to copy them or use them for inspiration. Now, in addition to the blessing, this is where we differ from just doing a simple pet blessing. You want to have interesting vendors and agencies. You want to have activities. You want to have food, but avoid contests where there will be losers. Another thing I learned, I can't remember what it was. I think it was the cutest cat or something. Anyway, one of the little kids went home crying because they didn't win. And you do not want that. So this is was ours last year from a drone. You can't see, but there is a pet animal off to the right. There are several more tents. This was actually fairly early in the event. So if you think of a farmer's market, that's kind of the atmosphere you're looking for. You certainly want to have lots of places for people to walk around. The ice cream truck was to the left, so the petting zoo and bounce house are to the right. So it kind of gives you a reason for people to move. Door prizes. You want to have door prizes. One person on Tuesday night talked about they had decided to do one major door prize. Okay, that's nothing wrong with that. We like to get a whole bunch of door. I think we had 19 last year. It generates interest. People leave excited, and it doesn't cost anything because you ask the vendors and any appropriate agency to donate a good or service. So some of the people you want to invite, major pet supply companies, they probably are not going to show up, but they'll send you coupons. We get some very nice coupons from Purina that we can then use as door prizes. Local stores are more likely to turn out. Around here, what they'd usually do is put together a very nice basket full of various things. Pet sitters, they could offer a time where you get a free appointment. Same thing with dog walkers, veterinarians. I, Before we started this, I didn't know there was such a thing as a cat cafe, but you know, pet photographers, the zoo or science center. Do you want young people at your church? All right. In that case, think about Future Farmers of America, which is mainly high school, 2 or 4 year college programs. Our veterinarian tech program from one of the community colleges is one of the big draws every year. You might go to a high school biology teacher and see if they want to do anything. Particularly if you have a scout troop at your church, might do something around their merit badge programs, a display about that. The day school at the church isn't necessarily pet oriented, but it's a way to have people out there. Wildlife preserve, animal oriented crafts, animal spa, dog trainers. You might want to just search Google for the name of your area and then say bird, reptile, snake. We found a reptile zoo, which is actually a commercial store that was hidden away in back of a shopping center. I never knew it existed. Pet clubs, humane society, pet housing, state wildlife is another good one a lot of times. Animal therapy groups, feral cat societies, large animal zoos, aquarium. share what it is you think of, and I will share it with everybody else. But now I want to say this to you. Do not overwhelm yourself. About 3 slides back, many of you were thinking, oh my God, we can't do this. And that's absolutely true. You can't. My suggestion when you get the video, go back, look at those slides, make a list of no more than 10 categories, pet sitters, for example, and go ahead and approach them. Be prepared to contact each one multiple times before getting an answer. Visiting in person is more effective than phone calls more effective than emails. Remember to ask for the door prize. They are getting publicity, and the door prize is the way essentially they pay for it. Now, what you're going to find is of some of those 10 or more that you do contact, only a few will show up in person, but some of them will give a door prize. And that's great. So some of the other things you might have is food trucks, ice cream truck, petting zoo, bounce house. One of your best, one of the most interesting is the police canine unit demonstration, where they bring their dogs and show what's done. I enjoy it every year and learn something new about what they can do. Fire truck, EMT truck. Now remember, plan on them coming, but if they have a call, they can't show up. Face painting with the younger kids is always a big success. Now, some of the things you don't want to forget to do is the dog walk area. You want to have water for animals, probably scattered around, not just in one place. Free water for people. Chairs for adults is probably the thing most places forget the most often. Think about the petting zoo or the bounce house, and some kids having a great time in there, and it's grandparents who brought them. They're getting tired standing there. The nicest thing you can do is have a couple chairs scattered around. Signs to the restroom, hand sanitizer, and not just in one place. And take photos, including by the drone. One of the things you may want to do is take a photo of every vendor. And then when you send the thank you note afterwards, you can include a photo of where they were that they might just use on their social media so you get some more publicity. Certainly, you want to have a display of the door prizes, including a poster thanking the vendors, particularly those that aren't present. Again, what they're getting for helping you out is publicity, so you want to make sure they get publicity. I know, again, a lot of people are sitting there thinking, oh my God, this is going to cost too much money. Well, most of what I said is free. I got two funding sources for you to consider. For Imprint is the company name, and they do all kinds of things, but they offer $500 in-kind promotional grants to eligible nonprofits. So, for example, this is what we did a couple years ago, a little bandana that goes around the bigger, particularly the bigger dogs. Or my guess is a lot of times the owner, particularly if it's a child, might take it home and hang it on their wall. Now, this was done for a group of Episcopal churches, so there's nothing specific about the church, but you want to have something specific. In fact, our new one will definitely have our QR code down there. Hoping someday somebody says, oh, I want to ask those people a question. Another good funding is Thrivent Action Teams. Thrivent, if you're not aware of them, is a financial institution. You can get checking and all that kind of stuff through them. At one time, I'm pretty sure years ago, it was Lutherans only. Well, it's now open to anybody. And if you are a member, you're then eligible for at least $250 per year. And if you're I don't know how else to phrase it, involved with them enough, you're eligible for two of those, so $500 a year. What Shirley and I did is we did a little maneuvering to keep it legal. You can do it, and moved $10,000 each from our retirement account into their retirement account. So we're making the same investment money, but on top of that, we're making $500 per year each. They have very specific guidelines, but they can fund, for example, the bounce house, the petting zoo, and some of your promotion. Very important. And I'm going to say this a couple times. And again, it's not just for what we're doing here. Most churches make this mistake about their Sunday services, their Christmas services, all that kind of thing. They announce them, but they don't invite people. As I said earlier, most unchurched people have made a decision to not go to church. So if we just simply announce that our service on Christmas is at 7 p.m., they've already decided they're not, it's of no interest to them. And I'll probably insult somebody saying this, but it's like if you were to announce the time the ballet starts to me, I have no interest in that. You have to at least invite me. Well, when we are promoting, our communication options fall into three categories. I find it helpful to think of it this way so we can focus our efforts in the proper way. And of course, there's the personal, my terminology, impersonal tier one, impersonal tier two. The personal, the direct invitation is always best, no question about it. But many people hesitate to invite friends. I mean, how often have you asked the people in your congregation to invite somebody and you just see that them back up half a step? And, and part of that is they don't think they know many people to invite. Impersonal tier two, we'll come back to that in a minute. Impersonal tier one is communications we put in front of people, such as social media, street signs, newspaper, TV, radio. In other words, they don't do anything. This just appears in their eyesight. Impersonal tier one does include what I call semi-personal invitations. The receptionist at the doctor's office isn't. If you invite them, you're not really inviting a friend. So that's why I call it impersonal. But it is certainly an important invitation. Civic groups kind of in between. You may or may not know everybody in the civic group. 12-step groups. We always have a sign where the 12-step group comes in and out, announcing anything and inviting them to anything coming up. Banner and signs at churches, traditional media, which we're going to talk about, yard signs, particularly when they're at somebody's home. And tier two, though, now remember, tier one was stuff we put in front of them. Tier two is things they have to look for. Nobody is going to stumble on your website. Nobody is going to be on the internet just looking around and stumble on your website. It's very unlikely they'll just stumble on your Facebook page, Gram page, or anything like that. Generally, tier two is in support of tier one and I should say impersonal efforts. In other words, we announce something and we say, if you want more information, go to our website. So tier one is grabbing their attention. Tier two provides the information. Well, something that's extremely important in all this, and it's a whole lot easier than you think, is to have a website landing page. If you, whether it's personal or impersonal, tier one, and you suggest to people, well, there's more information on our website, and they go to the main page and they got to look around, it's under resources, and they have to click on that and go down, you're going to lose them. You're going to lose them. A lot of research says every time you ask somebody to make an additional click, you lose a third of the people. But there's a way to avoid that. And that's a landing page. This is a single page with all the information they need. What you do, well, in fact, let me show you one. It might be easier for you to visualize. This is the one we had last year. Basically, all the information they need is right there. Everything else is part of the intrigue, invite, promote type thing. They see this long, and actually, I couldn't get it all on the screen. We had so many coming. Uh, but, it shows you, it focuses on the petting zoo and the bounce house. We're making we're being clear that part of our target audience is children. Uh, we have bring your pet, stuffed animal, or photo to be blessed. Uh, there are churches that say bring your well-behaved pet. We've never had any problem, but I can understand why somebody would want to do that. So anyway, you create something like that, you create a QR code to it, and you show that QR code everywhere. Now, right now, it may have, if you set it up this week, it may have no information other than the time and the date. And watch this space for more information. Your website developer should be able to create such a page so it's easy for somebody at your church to update. And exactly the same concept for Christmas, Lent, anything, any special event like that that you're going to be talking to people about and hoping they come to is appropriate to do a landing page. And again, in that, you want to invite them. Uh, Honestly, we did not do a fantastic job on this one last year with the invite feel. It'll definitely, there's a lot of great announcement, but it's not, it could be rephrased to be a better invite. And we will do that this coming year. So personal and semi-personal invites, back to that. As I said, most people are reluctant. Well, you can make it easier by giving them something to hand out in a simple script. Show them how simple it is and, basically challenge them to give it a try. I like business cards. I recommend it be on heavy paper, just like a traditional business card, or even a little heavier, so it's less likely to get crumbled and lost. I recommend rounded corners. That's something we've learned over time. It just looks nicer, and it doesn't usually cost a whole lot more. I would advise you check around a lot. Prices vary a lot. I like normally working with a local business anytime I can, but honestly, the online companies are substantially less expensive in most cases. Somewhere in the 20 to 35 cents per card is common, but you might find it for less. Normally, most companies have a 250 card minimum. Uh, some will take it down to 100 cards, but then you pay more per card. So just, pay attention to all that. Was our card. You can see I use the same graphics on the back of the card. The front of the card is one have used for a lot of different things: Christmas, Easter, Lent. We've actually changed the front, but we have used basically the same type of graphic. Now, when you got the cards ready, I suggest you ask the worship leader to pray, and to pray we have the courage to hand them out and that people receive them graciously. And I do that for a couple reasons. Prayer on them is certainly the most important. But the other thing, if your worship leader stands up front and says, I want to pray these things for these cards and we'll hand them out to you after the service, that just gives a level of importance to them you can't get anywhere else. And as part of whatever you're talking to people, suggest places to hand them out and beg people to do so. Friends, relatives, neighbors, people walking dogs by going by their house. The doctor's office I've mentioned. Shirley and I always have several in the car, and when we go through drive-through, we hand them out, particularly if there's not a line behind us. And we say, here's something you might be interested in. Hope you can come. Servers at the restaurant. Certainly civic clubs are a great place. But again, the people are hesitant. So as I said, give them something simple to say. And this is basically what Shirley and I do. We have something going on I think you will like. It's an animal festival and pet blessing. Hope you can come, and hand them the card. End of interaction unless they want to continue. All right, social media. We're back at what I call tier one. What you're doing is putting it in front of people who might pay attention. If you put it in front of 1,000, you put up 1,000 posts, and I'm going to talk about some numbers in a couple minutes. Maybe 50 of them will actually notice it. It'll grab their attention, and maybe 10 will end up reading it. So be aware of that. Be aware that you're trying to reach a lot of people and you're never quite sure who you've reached. But this is by far the easiest and cheapest way to get the most attention. This is critical. Research says you have half a second to grab their attention before they move on. And if you're on Facebook or anything similar, try to go the way you normally do and notice what you do. And I'll bet you will find that half second is a pretty reasonable number. And therefore, you got to have graphics that grab attention. The first 3 to 5 words must grab attention. Back to what I said, animal festival. Never, never, and Lord, this happens more often than that. Never begin with the church name, place, dates, etc. They are of no importance until after you have their attention. Aside, when I work with churches, I offer to look at things like their Facebook page, their Instagram page, their website, and things like that. Particularly on their Facebook page, probably 80% use the most valuable space they got to give out their church name and maybe the address and the time of the service. The people who've come to that page are vaguely interested, but you really need to use that space to deepen their interest. Then they'll wonder about what time the service is. Instagram is very similar to Facebook. In fact, in many cases, it'll cross post. I'd suggest posting now. As soon as that landing page is ready, you can do a coming September, October, whatever. Try to post at least once per week. You can mention the vendors and organizations as they commit. What I've done in the past, will do this year, is I come up with a background and I just change the text on the background. Once you set the background, it takes about 2 minutes, if that. Just say, this dog. We got 15 coupons from Purina for $20 each. Yeah, something like that. Ask the vendors and organizations to announce on their sites. The Humane Society probably has one of the largest mailing and social media networks in town. If you can get them to announce it a couple or 3 times, you're going to greatly reach out further. When you're dealing with Facebook, and again, not just for this, for anything, just remember it's not a nonprofit, it's a business. The more people who look at our page and posts, the more Facebook earns. So the more they will show it to non-members. And that's who we want it shown to. We don't really care if that lifelong member sees the post, because hopefully they know all about it already. A little trick, if you ever play video games, there's cheat codes in the video games, and the text in your post with @ highlight and 3 blank spaces and @ followers with 3 blank spaces. That tells Facebook to show it to many more people. That does not work on Instagram or anything else, just on Facebook. And again, not just for the animal festival, anything you do. I would strongly recommend you put a lot of emphasis into, when I say that, I make it sound like it's a lot of effort. It's not, it's easy. Facebook events, and there's a little how-to tutorial I put together. I put these tutorials together because when I went in and tried to learn, I found that stuff on YouTube and stuff was so broad in general, meant for so many different situations, and that it wasn't always easy to nail it down for a church. So I tried to do them so they're focused on churches. If you want to see them done well, Holy Family in New Jersey does them very well, and there's one of the ones they recently did. Find a way, good luck, I'll explain that in a second, to have members and friends say they are going to the event. You'll notice when you do one, if you haven't seen one, it says interested or going. If all they'll do is interested, fine, but you want going. Find a way, good luck, to have members share or comment on all posts. Again, Facebook is a business. So if they have an event, Animal Festival, and 15 people say this is an interesting event that's worth their attention, Facebook says, oh, I should show that to even more people. That's why it's so important for your members to help out. Now, why did I say good luck? I have to, and I'm disappointed when I tell you this, but I've worked with a whole lot of churches and I haven't seen any variation. Most of us know someone who talks a lot about going on a diet, losing weight, and getting in shape. And these are the same people who will find the closest parking space to the donut shop. Well, unfortunately, most people in the church are like that about getting new people. I don't like the term, but I'll use it. Church growth. They're all about it. They talk about how really need to have more people. They'll talk about it in the board meetings, vestry, council, whatever. And that's the end of it. When it's time to do something, even something as simple as saying they're interested in an event, it's hard to get them to do it. I I admit this, I'm reluctant, but I now aim for 10 to, I say aim for 10 to 20% of your congregation to be willing to help some of the time in little ways. Aim for a minimum of three, not including clergy, 3 to 5 that are really going to put in some effort. If you can pull that together, you have a real good chance of seeing some results. Facebook groups is another powerful way to get your information out. And there's another how to. In Greensboro, I don't know why, but Greensboro, North Carolina has more Facebook groups than lots of places. I have no idea why. Uh, in fact, I can, in under 10 minutes, put my event in front of 100,000 accounts. Now, that 100,000, lots of duplicates, people in 2 or 3 different groups, which isn't bad. They may not see it in group 1 or 2 and then see it in group 3. And again, not everybody's going to pay attention to it. But if I get in front of 100,000 people, I'm going to get a few people that are going to pay attention. The video talks about how to find the groups in your area, and the events actually gives you the option of sharing to groups, so it becomes even easier. Do not hesitate to share multiple times. If possible, take a minute and redo. You'll see when you're doing them, you can duplicate the event, make a few changes in it. If possible, change the graphics so it looks different, and just reload it again. And always include the QR code. Paid ads on social media. I think it's a good use of your money. Thriving grants can be used. Uh, what I've found is typically a penny to 3 pennies per account who sees the ad. Now, again, whether or not they pay attention, but to get it in front of people, and it will be non-members. You can, and the tutorial will show you, you limit the geographic area that shows the ad. For Blessing of the Animals, I'll use a wider area than I would for Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, I figure people are not going to want to travel that far. Blessing of the Animals are probably going to come a little further. Uh, and boosting is just Facebook's quick and easy way to create an ad. That's all it is. They will offer to do it for you. That's okay, but I would try not to do that. There's some options when you do it yourself that you'll like the geographic limitations that you're really going to want to horn in on. Uh, Facebook's default geographic is all the United States, and you don't want to be paying money to be advertising 5,000 or 1,000 miles from you. Paid ads for Google, YouTube, places like that, I don't recommend them. Uh, they're almost a tier three because for your ad to show to somebody on Google, they've got to be asking a very specific question. Where is there an animal festival near me or something like that? Yeah, I don't think you're going to get very many people doing that. Um, Plus the fact that if they're more general, like they just type in animal festival or pets or something like that, they're likely to get all the commercial ads, the businesses ahead of yours, and they may never even get to yours. I, you know, do what you want. My case, I don't use it. I'll just tell you real quick. Christmas Eve and Easter are two times I will consider Google Ads because it's more likely somebody is gonna say, where is there a Christmas Eve service in Greensboro? Then where is there a pet festival? Now, down at the bottom, I say it, AI is taking over the whole search thing. 3 months from now, I might totally change my recommendation. Nextdoor.com can actually be pretty good. Um, when you're on it, look for the button to choose neighborhoods. Now, understand your church cannot become a member. It has to be people becoming members. So members of your congregation. Some of them are already on it. But encourage them to choose neighborhood button and select them all. Get it out as widely as you can. The important thing is you need it to look like information to a friend and somewhat less like an ad. So this one that was on ours last year. They are willing to bless my crazy dog. Now you can put all the information under that and include the QR code. You can do an event. I think the best thing to do, back to what I said about, trying to get a few people interested, if you can find, three, four, five people in your congregation who are next door and ask them when something's coming up to post something themselves from their account. And I mean, you can give them the graphics and everything. That'll have much, much more impact than anything else you can do. My opinion, their ads are not worth the money. Reddit. I've just started experimenting with this over the last couple months. The hardest part is finding the best subreddit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, what you do is you have slash Greensboro, North Carolina. And people who are interested in talking about Greensboro, North Carolina, look at that. It doesn't mean they're in Greensboro, North Carolina. It just means they're interested. And grabbing their attention is still essential, although Red actually gives you more flexibility than as far as what you're showing than Facebook or Instagram or any of those. I I would not recommend their ads. Rather, focus on nearby geographic groups, and you can include the QR code. Have I said that before? Signs. Banner at church can be good. It's very easy to do it, so you can change the date for next year. Ours, the date's on a strip with Velcro, and next year we'll just make another one and replace it. Yard signs at members' homes can be kind of semi-personal because even though the neighbor doesn't know you, they know it's somebody in the area. But don't put so much information on it that the text is too small to read. Look around whenever you're buying something. We were searching the other day for some flag banners, and the cost. This is true. This is absolutely true. $19 to $150 for what looked like the same product. So really spend some time looking. I suspect the 19 is cheap fabric and stuff, and the 150 is way overpriced. Again, QR code, traditional media, not newspaper, TV, that kind of thing. Certainly gets a lot less attention than in the past, but still lots of eyeballs, that's the term they use, for little effort or cost. Again, in Greensboro, I meant to look this up before I started tonight and I forgot. I believe the circulation in the major newspaper is about 150,000. And each one of those newspapers may go to multiple people. Key again is zero point 0.5 seconds, but in this case, it's a little different. When you send out a news release trying to get them to talk about your event, the reporter or editor has will take maybe a full second to decide if it's worth them reading on. If it doesn't grab their attention right away, they're likely to just pass it on or put it in the trash can. Some of your best opportunities might surprise you, and that's weeklies. And I'll explain why in a second. Specialized like entertainment or neighborhood. A TV and medium-sized markets can be good. Radio on the stations you want to be associated with. And there again is some stuff I put together. There's what I call principles, the basics of it. The reason I say to look at things like weeklies and specialized and stuff is a lot of them are operating with virtually no staff. There's one in our town. Two people run three specialized weekly newspapers. Two people. They do all the marketing, all the advertising, and then the actual writing and stuff like that. You send them something that's easy to use and is interesting, they're going to use it. So that's the key, and you'll see when you see what I wrote up. So people came, they had fun. Are we ever going to see them again on a Sunday or any other time? It's not likely. How do we change the odds? Uh, this is a one I did with that helps you. I'm stumbling over my words. This was written for Christmas, but the process is the same for any event, and it just goes into a lot more depth than I can have time to do tonight. Most people will not return simply because they now know where to park, or they now know your people are friendly. I mean, every church in town, well, just about every church in town claims to be the most friendly church in town. I forgot. Oh, I was going to put a slide up and I just forgot to do it. We saw a church sign yesterday. In many ways is perfect because it tells you what you need to know about that church. It says still KJV, still King James Version. That is what we're is the attempt, and that's fine if people like King James Version. I'm not attacking that. What I'm saying is getting the point across that simply is what we're trying to do. And again, because most unchurched people have decided against going to church, even if they believe church theoretically is a good thing. Decided. They've made a decision. So our job, our challenge is to change their mind. Invite them. Don't just be friendly and polite. Invite them to come on Sunday. Gently, always assertive, never aggressive. In other words, always approach them and say something. But, and I don't think this is a problem for anybody that's on this meeting, but you certainly don't go up to them and say, do you want to stay away from hell? Then come tomorrow to Sunday, to our Sunday service. But you do want to say, we would love for you to come back on Sunday. Do you have any questions about the church I can answer? Get their contact information. And if you look on my website, there's a lot of information about how to do that. Because if you don't have some way to reach them, you have no way to influence their decision about whether or not to come. It's helpful to have something special to announce. They have already, like I said, they have decided not to come to your normal Sunday service. So just simply inviting them to a normal Sunday service has less of a chance of being effective. Instead, have a reason. If your preacher will preach the next day or the next week on God's love of creation, remember, these are people who love animals. They're interested in how God reacts to animals and the rest of creation. Or you might have, say, the upcoming sermon series is on family dynamics. The youth group's fall focus is on food deserts. That's things that people have been hearing about, wonder about, and might say, well, it's worth me changing my decision and at least trying this place out. Contact information again. One good way to get it is to make the door prize entry form a contact form. Typically, I use opt out rather than opt in. And I do that because, frankly, if I ask people if they want to be on another mailing list, not many people are going to say yes. I want a chance to talk to them. It's a form we used last year, may have been the year before. We'll use again this year. My point is very simple, 4 to a page, so it's easy to print. All you need is their first name and a phone number to get in touch with them. And notice there that down at the bottom, I give them the opt out option and I tell them it's there. I want you to ask yourself around the blessing of the animal, but also everything else you do, including Sunday morning. What do they know when they leave? They did not know when they arrived. And more specifically, what do they now know which would encourage them to return? Think about it, because if the answer is they don't know anything new, then why would they come back? They know you hold worship services. So how do we do that? How do we tell them something that may influence them? Well, again, personal conversations are always best. You notice I said earlier on, uh, invite them to Sunday and say, do you have any questions? Large photos, posters, etc. I'll show you in a second what I mean. Brochures with good QR codes to key web pages are important. This is what I meant by large photos. They're large enough. The rule I suggest is you should be able to get your message out from 6 feet away, because a lot, I've seen a lot of times people will do a little page size and they'll have a paragraph on there. You got to walk up to it. So, unless somebody's really interested, they're not going to do that. If they walk by this, they understand we have a youth group and we have a marvelous mix of music. Notice also, I put it high enough up so if somebody's standing in front of it, it's not totally blocked. And this is a banner we did up. Notice the key where your eye goes to the middle of the banner automatically, and that a phrase Lutherans use grabs their attention. Above it is things about our worship. Below it is things about our service to the community. And you can see we use it at plant sales and everything. Now, all of these, the photos, the banners and stuff, are in the narthex all the time. So that anybody comes in, the delivery man, the blood drive person coming in for the blood drive, person coming in for a 12-step group, again, we're not forcing it on them. We're offering to them the opportunity to learn from us or learn about us. So we've done it. So we're exhausted. Take a break for 24 hours, maybe a little longer. Because typically we treat guests, this is Sunday, this is blessing the animals, this is yard sale, everything. we treat people as ghosts. And if you know that current terminology, it means you see them for a moment and then you ignore them. In any relationship, ongoing communication is key. If you want these people to come back and be involved in other things, including worship, you got to communicate with them. If you don't invite during the event and communicate afterwards, and I mean this word, wasted our time. So, my joy as I'm finishing up is to help you. I had a phone call a couple days ago from a pastor who's just all excited about somebody who'd wandered in. They got talking to him, and now they want to be a member of the church. I mean, it took time, but that's when I personally get joy. Again, there's the website, there's my email, and if you're in the middle of a meeting and you got a question, you can try to reach me. I won't guarantee you'll get me, but give it a shot. You are never, never alone. So I will stop the share and we'll go to Q&A. And I fully expected, I went so fast, I confused a lot of people. So, so I'm on there twice. That's interesting.
Uh, well, your video isn't up, but that's okay. I think that might have been one of the things that was slowing you down earlier.
Okay.
But so you just have there's a picture up, not an actual live video. But now that you're not screen sharing, if you see that, it looks like you might.
Yeah, there I am.
There you are. Perfect. So yeah, this is a great time. If you have a question, you can unmute and ask. You can type it in the chat and I will ask it for you. If you don't prefer to speak it out loud, that is fine. But if you have questions about either the animal festival, the pet blessing, or if you have questions about what the cohort is going to be like, again, as a note, this was much longer than we typically are going to have a presentation from Ken, but just as kind of a way to get us started.
Yeah, typically that's 3 hours of training I tried to nail down in 60 minutes. So yes, I was using my New York style talking very fast.
Yeah. Well, Ken, why don't you tell them your plan for the cohort, what the cohort meetings are going to be
Great.
like?
Well, I'm so excited. This is something I've wanted for so long, and I really appreciate Karen and PRC uh, helping me do it. Basically, what we're going to do, we're going to get together once a month, and each time is going to be divided into four sections. Now, some will be longer or shorter any given month. But we're going to start with some basic research that has been shown, like the statement about people have made a decision not to attend church. And we'll bring that up. Or probably the first month, I'll talk about how many people near you are interested in talking to you. It's ballpark just is about a third of the people that live near you have at least some interest in connecting with you. Then the second segment uh, is some kind of general thing. So I might, for example, one month we'll talk about Facebook groups, and I'll go into a little more depth on that. The third segment will be how did the last month go? Because the fourth segment is here's the things I recommend you do next month. So the following month, we'll look back at that and see how it went, find out what could have gone better. My dream is, and I think it'll work, is in the midst of those two, particularly, there'll be a lot of sharing from the churches, both sharing of ideas and sharing of resources. There's no reason why every church in the country has to prepare every graphic. Uh, we can certainly share. If we got a graphic we really like, we can offer it to other people, for example. And the other thing is wording. One of the things I do whenever I visit a church is I look at all their material, and got one in Asheville, a Lutheran church in Asheville. I was at a couple weeks ago. I love this. I'm going to change ours. They say, we appreciate that you entrusted us with your contact information. We promise not to. I've always said we promise not to spam, but I've never said entrusted us. I think that just has, I just think that has more power. Um, so we can share a lot of that kind of thing. So anyway, 4 segments, and in between, again, I'll be available if people have questions or whatever.